You're listening to the Dre Area Sports Show, live on YouTube and X. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe.
What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Dre Area Sports Show. I'm joined by Sterling Bennett, host of 49ers Access Podcast. Sterling, what's going on?
Doing good. NFL free agency about 1 week away. Who will the Niners sign? Who will they trade for, maybe? Should be fun, Dre.
Should be fun. Guys, remember, we're brought to you by Power Brand Systems. Use promo code 300POWER to save up to $300 in your first purchase over at Power Brand Systems. They will develop and design you a website to fit your every need. You want proof of that? Go to my website. Go to John Chapman's website. Go to Johnny Dale's Football Academy website. They made all those websites. If you go to mine, it looks a little squirrely because I'm in the process of trying to redo it. So that's not really them, that's me. But check out Power Brand Systems. We're also brought to you by SeatGeek. Use promo code Dre Area Sports to save up to $20 on your first purchase over at SeatGeek.com. You want to go to the game? You want to go to a concert? Use promo code Dre Area Sports and save yourself some cash. And we're also brought to you by BetUS. Use promo code Dre Area Sports, and they will match you up to 110% on your first three deposits. Only at BetUS. BetUS, it's where the game begins. Okay, now that we've done that, we've paid the bills. Now we're ready to get on with the rest of the topics. Now, we had a lot of things going on this past week, and the offseason seems to be sort of up and down in terms of drama, turbulence. It's just not an easy route, you know. And, you know, a lot of Niner fans are like, well, you know, I really hope that this offseason will be drama-free. Well, guess what? That's never going to happen because the Niners don't know how to do that. But there was some breaking news that I wanted to get to if I can find the right tab. Where is it? Let's see. Here it is. And let's go to that breaking news. Do I have the thing? Right now. Trent Brown. Oh, damn it. This is Trent Brown, not Trent Williams. Okay, well, Trent Brown. Yeah, wrong Trent. Sorry about that, guys. Well, he signed an extension to stay with the Texans. Big boy, huge gut. Used to be a Niner. My bad. Okay, here it is right here. Trent Williams. Okay, so far, according to Mike Garafolo, Trent Williams and the Niners have made no progress on contract talks. Now, is this really news? Not really, but I guess it is. It's sort of reading the room. Nothing's been announced. Nothing's happened. Sterling, do you think that this is just never going to happen? Are the Niners going to look to trade Trent Williams, or are they going to work out this deal?
No, I think, look, the Garafolo report saying there's been no contract updates or no movement, it's been a week since it came out. They were even having these conversations, so I wouldn't put too much pressure or say, oh my God, panic. No, this is not that. This is simply just, it's been a week. We gauged the market and nothing has changed as of the last time a report came out. That said, Trent has all the leverage in the world. Niners have one backup tackle. It's Austin Pleasance. They're not really in a position to draft a tackle in the first round, let alone one that can replace Trent Williams immediately in this upcoming season. So Trent has the leverage. Niners know this. The Niners made and negotiated the current contract to be this, to give them a 2-year window.
Yeah.
And see where Trent's head's at, see where the injuries are at, see if he wants to continue playing. Now they have the opportunity to redo his deal again. And I think in probably a 2-year window, see where he's at again. So I think it gets done. I don't think it's time to panic. I'm sick of seeing, what about the Houston Texans trading Nico Collins and picks for Trent Williams? That hurts the Texans. Why would they do that? Yeah. So, no, Trent's going to be a San Francisco 49er. He wants to be a 49er. It all just comes down to money. Trent wants money. He's earned that money. He was a top 5, top 3 left tackle again in 2025. And this team is objectively worse without him being on the roster guarding Brock Purdy's blind side.
Yeah, no, they're absolutely worse without Trent Williams. I mean, Trent Williams had a PFF grade of 91.5 that ranks 3rd amongst tackles in the NFL. This guy, say what you want about his age, this guy is an elite offensive tackle in the NFL. You don't let a guy like this walk away. You don't let a guy like this get away from your franchise, and you don't trade a guy like this because, look, he's 38 years old. Let's say you're like, hey, we want to trade him. We want to see what we can get for Trent Williams. I'm sorry, but at 38, you wouldn't get as much as you're going to get if he was 28, if he was 31, if he was 33. But at 38 years old, I feel like the value for him on the trade market is not going to be as big as you had hoped. So look, will the Niners move him? I don't think so. I think it's just a matter of time before they get his contract situation under control. Now look, the Niners really need to get this done as soon as possible, because if they're going to be signing free agents and making acquisitions, they need to get this contract situation taken care of so they know exactly where they stand against the cap. So that's why I think that this gets done sooner rather than later. I think this is just something that's been blown out of proportion. And I think that Trent Williams will be back in San Francisco. I don't see any scenario in which the Niners move on from Trent Williams. If they were to trade him, I think that would be worst case scenario. They would never release him, and it would have to go completely sour if the Niners were to look to trade Trent Williams. If they trade him, Sterling, what do you think the Niners can get back for a 38-year-old left tackle who's still third best in the league at tackle? What do you think?
Yeah, I think as far as I can go back in my NFL lexicon, I don't remember many 38-year-old players getting traded, let alone being high-priced acquisitions at the trade deadline. The last one I can think of was probably Brett Favre when he retired and came back the first time with the Jets. And at that point, it was a conditional fourth-round draft pick in return for Brett Favre, who played good enough for the Jets, but it was a fourth-round draft pick that could become a third and a first and a second, depending on what parameters and how much he played and how far that team went. That said, Trent's not a quarterback.
He's not a quarterback.
Trent's a left tackle who wants a brand new contract.
He protects the quarterback, though.
Sure, he does. And there's value in that, and there's value in a player like Trent for sure. But I think, like Joseph Ehrenberg says, and maybe the baseline of a trade is a fourth-round draft pick, but that's what you'll get. That's not what San Francisco's asking price will be. The Niners want, by all intents and purposes, a first-round draft pick for Mac Jones. He's a backup quarterback on a one-year expiring contract. They're going to ask for a Micah Parsons-esque deal for a player like Trent Williams, knowing how valuable he is to the franchise. So that kind of ends any trade discussions. But let's say a team was desperate enough. I think the best you can probably get for a player like Trent Williams, if he's going to play for 2 years, is probably a third-round draft pick at best, which is what San Francisco acquired Trent Williams for back in 2021 or 20.
There's just no scenario in which I see them trying to move on from him. Bobo has a question. He says, why is Chase Sr. reporting that there's a potential there's not. We'll talk about that nonsense
that
later.
was a Giants beat writer
Yeah.
being completely wrong, incorrect, and now you're seeing aggregators jump on it and be like, whoa, it could happen.
You know, what it is, it's a Giants beat writer posting something that most Niner fans post about other players. Like, hey, do you think how about Maxx Crosby? You know, and it's an unrealistic expectation for him to say,
it's blue check mark syndrome.
Yeah, it
really is.
It's like, he goes, well, they're interested in bringing back Dre Greenlaw, so they get rid of Fred Warner. No, you don't bring back Greenlaw to get rid of Fred Warner. You bring back Greenlaw to partner with Fred Warner because they have a cohesive working together teammates kind of thing. And you don't get rid of Fred Warner for a guy who's often injured. And that just shows you that he's just throwing shit against the wall and some of it stuck, and Chase Sr. was there to scoop it up. So that's really all we're looking at here. So, and I was going to talk about that.
I feel like being in the business of scooping up shit probably isn't what anybody should be doing with their lives, but I digress.
I mean, it's either that or it's, the EMF.
Dude.
Trying to ride that to Joe Rogan. I mean, come on. It's like, get out of here with this. No, I'm glad Joe never even responded. He was just like, okay, yeah, whatever, dude. But let's move on to our next topic, which is a huge upgrade with the Los Angeles Rams. Trent McDuffie, a villain.
The other Trent.
Yeah, another Trent. Not Trent Brown, but Trent McDuffie, one of the main villains of the San Francisco 49ers in our most recent Super Bowl stint. ESPN sources, the Chiefs and Rams are working on a blockbuster trade, which I think they've already finished, that would send all-pro cornerback Trent McDuffie to the Los Angeles Rams for a package that includes their first-round pick this year, 29th overall, and some other picks as well. What do you think about this move? I mean, really, it's like, look, the Rams can make this move because they already hit on the draft. They've got depth at their defensive line. They've got depth on their team at receiver, at running back, at the offensive line. Now they can give up these picks to get a guy like Trent McDuffie and go all in on next year, especially if this is the final year of Matthew Stafford. You want to go all in and get a guy like Trent McDuffie to help shut down guys like JSN that you could not contain in the NFC title game. But Sterling, what does this mean for San Francisco? How do they pivot off of this? Because, I mean, look, this is a huge get for the Rams. And there's already rumors out there that the Rams might make a play for Maxx Crosby and have the ultimate defense in the league. What does this mean for San Francisco, and how should they respond?
You know, I think if you're in the business of responding to what your rivals do, you can get into dangerous waters pretty quickly, right? If the Giants did what the Dodgers always do, and it's probably a bad comparison knowing the Giants never do what the Dodgers do. But in this case, look, the Rams and Niners are in very different positions, right? The Rams have a near 40-year-old quarterback, a head coach that is hinted towards retirement at one point in time after they won their first Super Bowl. They have the Super Bowl in LA this next season, and they're in no place to be retooling. They are in we have to maximize the window because, if we're being honest, that window has a really high chance of closing once Matthew Stafford retires. And if you can compile defensive stars, it does give you a better chance to draft a young quarterback, sign a veteran, and kind of plug and play as the years progress. And getting McDuffie is big for them. You know, I think getting rid of a low end or a high in regards to 29 overall pick for McDuffie is huge. He's 25 years old to be 26 this year. Realistically speaking, he probably has a 3 to 4 year window of being a good to great cornerback again, but they have to pay him too. So this is what the Rams do. They capitalize on the window, and because they didn't risk 3 first-round draft picks on Trey Lance, they had the luxury of hitting on draft picks, maintaining success, and going forward. That said, the San Francisco 49ers shouldn't look at what the Rams just did and say, oh, how do we counter that? Because there isn't a star receiver out there to counter it. You have to get better in the trenches first and then maximize your skill positions. Now, you can say, well, that would indicate going out and getting Linderbaum. It doesn't. The Niners really should be looking to improve the core. The Niners don't have a core of 22-year-old, 24-year-old, 25-year-old players. They have a core of 30-year-olds, which inherently isn't a bad thing because it's a pretty good core if they're healthy, that being CMC and Warner and Trent, who's 37, 38, and George Kittle. But they failed to find that next core. I didn't understand the overreaction to the Niners not doing a deal like this, or watching the Rams doing this deal being like, why couldn't San Francisco do that? Or even this morning's trade between the Bills and the Bears of, you couldn't give up a second-round draft pick for DJ Moore. It's like, do you want to trade DJ Moore for a second-round draft pick if you're San Francisco? No.
Well, it also shows, too, that San Francisco doesn't want to trade their draft picks. They covet their draft picks at this point. And I think,
as they should.
Exactly. But I do believe that there is pressure from Jed York, because I think that every free agent player the Niners present to him and say, hey, these are the guys we're looking at, he probably responds to him by saying, well, can we get someone like that in the draft? Can we draft someone like that instead of spending the money to go get this guy? And I feel like that's kind of where they're at right now. Like, well, we like this guy. Okay, well, can you draft someone to do that? Or do you have to spend the money? And they'll probably say, well, I mean, we could probably draft somebody, or no, we can't, So I think they're at that impasse where they got to figure out, how to make every draft pick count. Because we've seen the Seahawks, we've seen the Rams. And I'll tell you what, if the Rams go and win the Super Bowl next year, that's going to be another slap in the face of the Niners, who've been there twice and couldn't get it done. And now they've watched their NFC West rivals win Super Bowls. But this is a move in Trent McDuffie that the Niners, they couldn't make this move.
Right.
It would cost them too much.
And when you can't forget the only reason the Rams had the ability to make this move is because the Falcons were idiots and dumb enough to trade up for a first-round draft pick last year and give the Rams a future first-round draft pick. So the Rams
they had two of them.
Right. So like the Niners don't have that. Now maybe this year they do, and I wouldn't be against trading back at 27 if you can and getting more future compensation if possible. I think it'd be a great thing for San Francisco. But the Rams have been in a very, very, very different place. Like really you can thank Raheem Morris and Terry Fontenot for this, funny enough, another one of them being in San Francisco. Like they put the Rams in this position to make this deal. And you have to give the Rams kudos. But
Mike Fontenot, remember him?
Oh God. Giants World Series champion, Mike Fontenot.
There he is, baby. Him and Ryan Terrio.
Hey, man. Freddie Sanchez, Miguel Tejada were in there somewhere. Yeah, Dan Elko was there at some point.
Remember Miguel Tejada? God, what a disaster
terrible.
that turned out to be. But no, I mean, they're in the right position to make this move. Let's say the Niners said, hey, you know what? Let's go out and get a Trent McDuffie before the Rams do. Like, let's make this move. So imagine if they did, because Niner fans, I've seen them on X posting like, oh, the Niners couldn't have done this. The Niners couldn't have put together a trade like this. Let's just say the Niners go out and make this move.
Sure.
Look at the backlash. Think of the backlash that would have happened giving up your first-round pick and numerous other picks to get a corner. And now you're like, well, wait, we have...
On a one-year deal.
On a one-year deal, you got McDuffie, you'd have Renardo Green, Diamond Lenore, Upton Stout. Now you have to move one of them. And now you kind of lose that leverage because now you're trying to trade one of them. Everyone's like, nah, I kind of like Renardo Green, but that asking price is a little too high. So maybe I'll give you like a 6th-round pick. Like, oh, well, he's really good and he's young. Yeah, but you got a plethora of corners. I mean, you're trying to get him out of there. I don't know if I want to make that move. I think, look, they've drafted these guys, Lenore, Stout, and Renardo Green. I think these are the guys you got to stick with. These are the guys you got to develop. I know there was some drama with Renardo Green towards the end of the season. I don't believe that that's going to lead to him being traded. I know there's been a lot of talk about that. I just don't see it happening. Sterling, if the Niners made this move, what would it mean for San Francisco to give up that many, all those draft picks to get a corner, an elite corner at that, on a one-year deal?
Yeah, I think for myself personally, and you can disagree here because I'm someone that is opposed to trading for Maxx Crosby, knowing that he only has 2 years of guaranteed contract left. He wants to get paid again. And he's under contract technically for 4 more seasons, signed through 2029. But I'm against that deal because of what you have to give up, the trade and draft pick compensation. And now you're saying the Niners, if they got Trent McDuffie for a 1-year contract, could they have to resign to a big deal? And it's probably going to get paid more than Lenore. And you're talking about a top 5 highest paid cornerback in football at a position where there's so much roster turnover. It really isn't worth paying anybody that big of money. Yeah. Like you're asking for an outright firing of John Lynch. Now, I think he'd play great. I think he'd be great in the defense. I'm not saying he wouldn't be great. However, this team is in no position to look at what the Bills just did today. And they're different trades, and I get that. But what Brandon Beane did in Buffalo was a clear sign of desperation. A 2nd-round draft pick and a 5th-round draft pick go to the Bears for DJ Moore, who was like maybe a high-end number 2 on a good day.
Yeah.
For Josh Allen.
He's not.
And he's getting paid $24 million a year.
That's a lot.
The Niners, that's desperate because Beane knows they already fired McDermott. I look like an ass after what happened with Keon Cole. It's like, this is disgusting. And he's vying for his job. Whereas John Lynch, if you make this deal, it's like, oh, crap, there was a clear indication that if you don't win this year, your job's on the line. And the Niners should not be in a place like that, nor are they in a place like that. So if they made this move, it would, 1, be a sign that John Lynch's job and that hot seat is on fire. But 2, you're mortgaging a future in which right now you don't really have a chance or an opportunity, really the means to mortgage. So if they made that deal, he'd be great for a year, but could you even re-sign him? Probably not.
Probably not. And the Rams, really, they can re-sign him, but there's a chance they don't even offer him a contract. Like, no, let's just ride this out for the rest of this year and see where we're at the end of the season, because they don't need to sign him. They just want to bring him on because they're trying to win a Super Bowl with what could be the last year of Matthew Stafford.
Yeah.
Now, the Niners are trying to seek a first-round pick for Mac Jones. And apparently the Dolphins have shown some interest in that, whatever the fuck that means. What do you think about Mac Jones, about trying to seek a first-round draft pick? If you ask me, they're highballing, knowing that everyone's going to lowball them. Like, oh, I'll give you a second-round pick. Oh, I'll give you a third-round pick. And I think that his value will go up as we get closer to the draft. Because outside of Fernando Mendoza, there isn't a whole plethora of quarterbacks that are like, oh, man, these guys are they're everywhere. And so a lot of teams are going to look for a quarterback that can run their offense. Now, look, I know we've talked about Justin Jefferson, but there's no way the Vikings are going to trade Jefferson to get Mac Jones and be like, oh, well, now we got a quarterback, but we have no one to throw the ball to except for Jordan Addison, and he's arrested. So what do you think of the Niners asking for a first-round pick for Mac Jones?
I mean, you can ask, but no one's picking up that phone call.
That we know.
The Niners, no, there's just nobody that is picking up the phone saying, yes, I'll give you a first-round draft pick, whether it's pick 1 or pick 32 for a quarterback that is not mobile, isn't a playmaker, isn't dynamic, is a statue quarterback in the pocket, that is a pocket passer that has a quick release, fine, but does not give you anything other than that for a first-round draft pick. And don't forget, Mac Jones is on a 1-year deal. It would be idiotic for any franchise to trade away a first-round draft pick for Mac Jones. I don't even think San Francisco is asking a first-round draft pick for Mac Jones. I
think they are, knowing that other teams are going to lowball them. No one's going to give them a first-round draft pick. There's no way.
I will say this. The Niners are going to be lucky if a team gives them a second-round draft pick for Mac Jones.
Would you take less than a second-round pick? Would you take a third-round pick? I mean, you're going to get that regardless.
Yes. Well, that's not true, though, because it's not guaranteed to get that. I would take a guaranteed third-round draft pick for Mac Jones.
Yeah.
Rather than risking him leaving in free agency, hoping he gets a massive deal by any team that would constitute you getting a compensation pick back, even though that formula is based on how much the team spends in free agency that year. There's no promise that the Niners get anything back for Mac Jones in free agency if he signs elsewhere in 2 years' time. There's no promise.
But that's the question, though, is if you're John Lynch, are you like, dude, I'm trading this guy because I want to get some value back for him? If it's me, I'm like, I'm trading Mac Jones. If you give me a first, second, or third-round pick, he's yours. Because we all know that Kyle Shanahan loves to develop quarterbacks. You still have Rourke on the roster. And look, we all know the rumor that's out there that if we trade Mac Jones, there's a good chance he's going to bring in Kirk Cousins to be the backup. I don't think Kirk Cousins is out on the market saying, I want to be a starter. I'm sure he does, but I don't see a lot of teams saying, hey, let's bring in old man Kirk Cousins in here. Let's have him start. I don't see it. I think he'd be better served as a backup, especially in San Francisco.
Yeah, I think if you go down every team that needs a quarterback this year, the Cardinals, the Jets, the Dolphins, the Raiders, the Steelers, the Vikings, the Cardinals are going to be in the market for Jimmy Garoppolo. Jacoby Brissett may stay there. And, of course, they'll be looking for Malik Willis. Like, those are their 3 targets or guys they believe in. The Jets need a quarterback, but they could be looking for Kyler Murray to kind of help Aaron Glenn's offense. Maybe they go out there and look for a Joe Flacco, bring him back, kind of just duct tape the problem for a year and hope Aaron Glenn makes it through another season. The Dolphins, they're better equipped letting Zach Wilson and Quinn Ewers duke things out for quarterback 1 because they're probably going to have to cut Tua Tagovailoa this offseason.
Oh, they're going to.
You kind of have to take on that massive dead cap hit and just call it a day. Meanwhile, that also puts another quarterback in Mac Jones's caliber of like kind of mid-tier game manager on the market. What does that do for him? The Raiders are getting Mendoza. They already have Geno Smith. Do they want to trade Geno? I think they should if they want to get Mendoza. Okay, there's another quarterback on the market now. And as you go team by team, there's more quarterbacks being flushed out into the market that are similar to Mac Jones, where he doesn't really separate himself. And even if Mac Jones is the 32nd best quarterback in football, is that worth a first-round draft pick? No. Is it worth a second-round draft pick? No. And the only team that I can see being a viable contender for Mac Jones in 2026 that can use one more year to hopefully, fingers crossed, bank on their young quarterback growing and finally producing is the Vikings. But even then, does O'Connell, which that team does not have many draft picks in itself because they had to trade up to get McCarthy, want to have a one-year band-aided Mac Jones? I don't think so.
Yeah, but I mean, look, he's only 27 years old. He was ranked 13th out of 43 quarterbacks. You know, he has a 77.1 grade on PFF, 13 touchdowns. So he's got good numbers for the limited time that he was the quarterback on the Niners. Now, if you're the Vikings, you could say, hey, look, we want to get rid of, what's his name? Allen. We want to get rid of, what's the other guy? Goodard.
Grenard.
Grenard, sorry. They want to get rid of Grenard. So I think if you're going to get a guy like Mac Jones, you would trade, Grenard for Mac Jones.
Sure.
And then at least you're saying, okay, I'm not giving up any draft picks. I'm just giving up players that we're looking to move off anyway because we can't afford them. So that's where I think his value comes in. And I would love for them to move him, give him a chance in Minnesota, and bring in Kirk Cousins. That would be phenomenal if I'm the Niners. That's a win-win situation.
I do have a concern, though, because we saw it happen in 2022 with Jimmy Garoppolo, right? They wanted to trade him. He had the shoulder injury on the side field, throwing to random water boys. And like that certainly helped them with Trey Lance getting hurt and he kind of bridged the gap to Brock Purdy.
Thank God.
I mean, yeah, you're right. Like, thank God he was there on the practice field because we didn't know what we had behind Trey Lance and Brock Purdy. And that could have very easily been Nate Sudfeld for all we know. But the Niners failed to lower the asking price, thinking they could leverage whatever they had on Jimmy and the rest of the NFL, and it didn't work out. They were not getting their asking price in return, and they didn't get anything for Garoppolo, I believe, in free agency because he went to the Raiders, got a big contract, and I don't think they got anything back in return for him because I think they paid for Javon Hargrave. That is my fear. Is that okay? Mac Jones leaves, gets a somewhat comparable contract to Jimmy Garoppolo or kind of a mid-tier quarterback deal, and then you're left because you want to sign somebody in the mid-tier, and it's like, now we don't get anything in return. I'd rather guarantee myself a draft pick or a player that is under contract for 2 years than let Mac Jones leave for nothing, even if that means dropping the asking price from a maybe perceived first-round draft pick, second-round draft pick. I would take a draft pick at pick 75 for Mac Jones in a heartbeat and go sign Kirk Cousins. There's not that much disparity between those two players.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. And let's cut some breaking news. A developing story. The Raiders look like they want to trade Maxx Crosby. No shit. But we do have another update. This comes from Adam Farrell of the NFL, whatever. Report the Bears aren't done in the trade market. They have been on the phone all day with the Raiders. Chicago has 2 firsts on the table, while Vegas wants a starter thrown into the mix. The Raiders didn't like DJ Moore's contract, so he got sent off to the Bills. Do you buy this rumor that the Bears are going to give up 2 first-round picks? Are they going all in?
Yeah, they are, because they were in the position to. Young quarterback, rookie contract, defense that was darn good last year, but really kind of tailed off towards the end. They want to help improve their secondary by helping improve their pass rush. DJ Moore was kind of a nothing player for them. He had a couple of good games in the playoffs. That was it. And they have 2 guys waiting in the wings, Luther Burden and Roma Dunze. They have Colson Loveland. We'll see what happens with Cole Kmet. It does seem like
they drafted those guys. Colson Loveland, Luther Burden. I mean, they got them last year in the draft. So they're fully stocked. I mean, obviously, yes, they did lose Drew Dahlman. We all know about that story. He decided to retire, which was like, I'm sorry, what?
It's crazy.
I'm sure Ben Johnson was like just spitting up his coffee, like, what? Who went through all that? Now you're retiring? What the?
Yeah.
Tough break.
But the good thing about this is that they can redo Maxx Crosby's deal. If they want to give more guaranteed money on his books for the last few years of his contract, they can cut some spending in that regard. They have a ton of cap space too. They are probably going to be one of those teams that signs Linderbaum, gives him a massive contract, go sign maybe Tyler Biadasz, who was the Commanders center, I think, last year, and gets Maxx Crosby. And we're sitting here saying, wow, the NFC North is stacked. It's the Lions kind of trying to return to dominance. It's the Bears who really should have beaten the Rams in the playoff last year, and it's the Packers. Then you have the Vikings. Like I have been saying for months, the Bears make the most sense for Maxx Crosby. They have the means, they have the money, they have the cap space, they have the draft picks to get it done. Crosby wants to win. Chicago needs another edge rusher. He is the guy I think ends up in Chicago when it's all said and done. Not the Cowboys, not San Francisco. To me, it's between the Bears and the Rams. That's only if the Rams are open to giving up pick 13, which I don't think they are, thus leaving the Bears as the number one fear for him this offseason.
Well, I mean, there is a discussion to be had there. I mean, they could say, hey, let's trade at number 13 pick and let's get Maxx Crosby, who's a for sure thing. But they could get a pretty good player at number 13, but Maxx Crosby is absolutely a for sure thing. And that would really fortify their defensive line, which would put, again, the Niners behind the 8 ball. I mean, the Niners are the third best team in the NFC West.
Yeah.
And look,
they won 12 games.
I mean, they have a lot of synergy. I mean, they got guys like George Kittle, Fred Warner. They have a lot of guys that have been there, Christian McCaffrey, that they know how to play together, Brock Purdy, but they need to retool. So let me ask you this. The Niners are in a predicament now where they're like, hey, look, we see the Rams going out and getting Trent McDuffie. The Seahawks just won the Super Bowl. If you're the Niners, do you say, okay, look, in free agency and in the draft, we're going to go all in on defense. We're going to continue to rebuild our defense and make it one of the best in the league? Or do you think they go all in on offense and say, hey, look, we have enough talent on defense, but we need to rebuild our offense. We need to retool the offense and make them. Do you think the Niners focus on getting the best defense or getting the best offense?
You know, I don't think you need the best offense if you have Brock Purdy at quarterback and you have Christian McCaffrey still being a viable running back in the backfield. You have to add, obviously, to it. But the Niners won a playoff game last year with Jawan Jennings, DeMarcus Robinson, and really Jake Tunges at their Kittle tore his Achilles against a really good Philadelphia defense that has some holes, and maybe the offense was the bigger issue in Philadelphia for sure. But I think San Francisco desperately has to improve their defense again. And I know you can discuss the injuries they had last year and getting back Michael and getting back Nick Bosa and how that improves the pass rush. But we saw, even when it was Keon White and even when it was Alfred Collins and West and Samuel Kawanu, it just wasn't good enough. Like, those guys are fine, mainly Okawanu and Keon White when they're your fifth and sixth edge rushers or the rotational pieces. They have to find guys that can bridge the gap from Bosa, Michael, if Bryce Huff is still here, then in between them, find some better pass rushers to get them to Samo and Keon White. On the other end, linebacker has to be addressed too, whether you're banking on the production of D. Winters and his development. I know I probably wouldn't do that, or Nick Martin's return. I don't know. But I am full steam ahead saying I would right now rather continue to grow, get younger, get faster, get stronger on defense than have this amazing offense, because you saw last year in Seattle, and I'm not comparing either team. I don't think San Francisco runs the same defense or really has the necessity to kind of copy and paste what Seattle did. However, Seattle's offense is not great on paper. It just didn't turn the ball over, had a great running game. Okay, that would imply fixing your trenches and getting a great defense. That, to me, is the model for success in 2026. Improve the offensive line, get the amazing defense behind them. You can control the clock. You can get back to having Brock Purdy not having to play this superhero style of football, which he's very much capable of doing, but can get in trouble at times. So if you want to say going all in, I think it's on defense. That's where you have to go improve that side of the football, and it'll do you wonders next season.
Guys, we have 99 watching on X and on both YouTube channels. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to 49ers Access and to the Dre Area Sports Show over on YouTube's. That would help us out quite a bit. We'd be very, very grateful for anyone who subscribes to the channel. And we provide great content, man. Come on. Okay, so
just worthy of jumping in here for a second. The Adam Farrell reporter that you mentioned for the Maxx Crosby thing.
Go ahead.
Have you read his X bio?
No, I tried. I was going to really quick, but I didn't have time. How bad is it?
turn on notifications for NFL parody updates.
Oh, well, there you go. So I guess there's no truth to that. Thanks for
No.
torpedoing that one. But still. Okay, so when it comes to, I agree that the Niners should go all in on defense. I think that's who they should focus on for the draft is their defense, especially at the safety position. They have a good core in Michael, CJ West, and Alfred Collins on their defensive line. They're going to get Michael back next season. They're going to get Nick Bosa back next season. I do think that they need to focus on safety, linebacker, and, of course, the defensive line again, and probably a corner as well in the draft. But that first-round pick can go either way. Omar Cooper Jr., I could see him going with that first pick. I would love to see the Niners get a good receiver to match up with Ricky Pearsall. Again, I think with the acquisition of Trent McDuffie, that changes their outlook on the receiver position. I know I've been talking about Mike Evans, but now that you got McDuffie, you need to have more man beaters out there that can get open, and I think that's what they got to focus on, getting younger and faster at the receiver position. I still think that the Niners are going to inquire about Evans. I really do. Only because he's a big target, a red zone threat at 6'5". Yes, he's 32 years old, but they could probably get him for a 1 or 2 year deal, and that would save them money in the long run. Like, hey, we only got about 1 to 2 years of real prime Super Bowl window. Let's get him in here and see what we can do. I was watching video today of Kaepernick throwing to Anquan Bolden. I'm like, dude, I bet you that's exactly what they hope to see if they got a guy like Mike Evans. Now, granted, Anquan Bolden is like 6'5", and he's dense like Deebo Samuel, so he's like them combined, He's a huge target. We got a question here from Strawberry. Sterling Dre, will you guys be hosting shows early next week for free agency? We'll see.
If the Niners sign anybody, I will be live. I promise you that.
Yeah.
Shows all week if they do something. If they don't, then we'll see. But I can promise you, at least for myself, there will be shows if San Francisco makes moves Monday through Friday next weekend.
Absolutely. So we know that DJ Moore got traded, so he's off the table, and I'm glad. Because, look, he's a good player, but he's not a guy that I would go out and trade draft picks to acquire. I'm sorry. No. Stephon Diggs got released. He's probably going to go to jail. Who knows? He's got enough problems as it is, so no one's going that route. But the one guy I want to ask you about is somebody that you've been talking a lot about. And that is none other than John Franklin Myers. You've been talking a lot about him. And also Matt Barrows made the comment saying that, the Niners are going to be they're going to be in on John Franklin Myers. When we look at his numbers, his PFF score is 61.3 as an interior defensive lineman. He also had 39 pressures last season. When you compare that to the guys we had there, in fact, here, let's do this. I'm just going to go ahead and share this tab so you can see it. So there's his numbers right there. 39 pressures, played 516 snaps, 61.3 grade. Okay, pretty good. What about Kalia Davis? 39.8.
Sucks.
9 pressures. There's a reason why they didn't tender him a contract. I'll tell you that. What about Jordan Elliott? Well, he has 49.7. Only 15 pressures. I know he's more of a run stopper. More of a run stopper. Do we still have him, or is he a free agent?
He's a free agent, and I'm pretty sure like 10 of those pressures came in the first 2 weeks of the season.
Yeah, when everybody was getting pressure, when Nick Bosa was around. And lastly, CJ West, 39.7. He had 9 pressures. A rookie. Still got a lot to go. I didn't look up Alfred Collins. I don't know.
He also didn't play for like a month and a half in the middle of the year.
Yeah,
he was
didn't.
inactive. It was crazy.
Well, because also too, he broke his thumb. And so that slowed him down. Once the club was gone, we saw much more production out of him as well. With that being said, talk to us about John Franklin Myers. What is it about him that you see as a positive producer for San Francisco if they were to go out and get him?
Yeah, San Francisco has been trying to find a replacement for DeForest Buckner for a really long time. You can go back to 2020 and Javon Kinlaw. You can even go to Javon Hargrave a couple years later, and they were both disasters for a variety of different reasons, mainly due to health, but also lack of production. They've now kind of turned trying to find multiple guys that can make up that production, whether it's against the run or against the pass, now for Collins, Michael Williams, and CJ West. But in a perfect world, and one that actually could exist for San Francisco in free agency, you can plug John Franklin Myers next to Alfred Collins in your starting lineup alongside Nick Bosa and Michael Williams on base downs, and you can get to the quarterback. You can stop the run. According to Pro Football Focus, the last 2 seasons, he's had at least 8 sacks and 43 pressures. Now, of course, PFF isn't the perfect database, but it is a good guideline to how good players can be. And I think it's more important to point this next stat out, is that he is one of 3 defensive tackles in the last 2 years to have at least 8 sacks and 39 pressures.
That's great.
This dude gets to the quarterback. He brings down the quarterback. He'll open things up for Nick Bosa, for Michael. And really, when you think about getting excited with the 5-man fronts that Raheem brings or sliding Michael inside, if you have Bryce Huff, Michael Williams, John Franklin Myers, and Nick Bosa as your third down kind of pin your ears back and get the quarterback formation, that's phenomenal. Because 1, you have Michael taking up double teams. 2, you have Bosa requiring double teams, and you're letting John Franklin Myers and Bryce Huff get home with speed and power that those 2 guys possess. He's long, he's lengthy, shouldn't cost you too much money. He's been everywhere. I think he was with the Rams when Raheem Morris was the defensive coordinator with the Jets under Robert Saleh, I believe, and now with the Broncos last year. So he can do a lot of things for you. He can play on base downs. He can play on third downs. And he's someone that San Francisco desperately needs to get. And I think, the one thing San Francisco needs to do this offseason before the draft is, can we find starting caliber players for maybe 2 of the holes we have? You mentioned Mike Evans. I'm saying John Franklin Myers. He's the one big name free agent guy to go out there and pay for because it's a need. You can give him a 3-year contract for $30 million or something like that. And again, there's a lengthy track record behind him to be successful getting to the quarterback. And, if you can fill defensive tackle, it doesn't become a big need in round 1 and 2. If you can fill wide receiver, it doesn't become that big of a need round 1 and 2. And it makes your life a lot easier. You can fill safety, you can fill edge, you can fill the offensive line. It just makes the draft day process so much more streamlined for San Francisco. So I'd be, unlike Matt Barrows, all in on John Franklin Myers this offseason, unless, again, the price tag is like $20 million per year, which it should not be by any means.
Yeah, no, I think he'd be an extremely productive player for the Niners. I think he'd fit in just great. The guy's 6'4", 288 pounds, only 29 years old. I think he'd fit in just perfectly there on the interior next to Alfred Collins. Makes CJ West more of a rotational piece if you're trying to focus more on run stopping. Now, we know we're going to get Nick Bosa back. We know we're going to get Michael back. I'm still not sold on them bringing back Bryce Huff.
Okay.
Look, if they brought him back, would I be upset? Absolutely not. I'd be like, cool, Bryce Huff. But I just get the feeling the Niners can't help themselves, that they're going to look for a defensive line free agent. And, of course, that always comes back for me. It comes back to Trey Hendrickson. You know how much they covet Trey Hendrickson. They love this guy. They love his work ethic. If you brought in a guy like Trey Hendrickson, I don't know if you can bring in a guy like John Franklin Myers on the same free agent market. Trying to afford both those guys would be a lot. But I think if you don't get a guy like Crosby, which I don't think they should, or like Trey Hendrickson, who at this point you wouldn't lose anything. You're just paying him. You wouldn't have to lose compensation picks because they didn't franchise him, the Bengals. They had a chance to trade him to get something in return. They didn't. They totally fumbled the return on Trey Hendrickson.
He also got hurt too.
Yeah, but before last year, he had back-to-back 17-sack seasons. That's hard to do. And the guy is just a monster. And so, look, if they were to go out and make him an offer, 2-year deal, 3-year deal, and he takes it, I think that's great. The other guy everyone's talking about is Alec Pierce. For me, I think that to get a guy like Alec Pierce, you're overpricing yourself. I think he's too expensive. And I'm sorry, I just think he's a little unproven. He's a good player. Last year was his best year. But to me, that's not a guy I look at and say, hey, I'm going to give that guy $30 million a year to come here and catch balls from Brock Purdy. He will stretch the field. But what do you think about Alec Pierce? Do you think that's a guy the Niners should invest money into?
Oh, I think Alec Pierce is phenomenal. I just don't think that spending $30 million on a receiver with this receiving draft class that is stacked with starting caliber talent all the way throughout, rounds 1, 2, 3, and maybe even 4, depending on who falls. It's not something I would advise a team to do. Now, someone will do it, whether it's the Colts or who knows who else will pay for him. But, this isn't like, I think the Niners, and this is probably not a great comparison, but the Niners would like Ricky Pearsall to be Alec Pierce. Like that would be the hope. And they're different in some regards, but like they're both good separators, route runners, have a good catch radius or steady hands. Like you can realistically think that if the Niners get an X wide receiver, whether it's Denzel Boston, Omar Cooper, Mike Evans, that if they can open things up and he can stay healthy, Pearsall can have a productive season like we've seen from Pierce and with the Colts the last couple of seasons. That said, no, I don't think San Francisco should involve themselves in a bidding war for a wide receiver that's going to get upwards of $25 million a year after signing Deebo Samuel for upwards of $25 million a year and it not working out, and doing the same thing with Brandon Ayuk and it not working out, and choosing not to sign Jawan Jennings for $18 million a year last offseason. They need to get younger and cheaper at wide receiver.
Yeah. Because
you're paying Brock Purdy, you're paying Christian McCaffrey. Now you have to once again pay Trent Williams. You're paying Colton McKivitz now for the next 2 seasons. Like you have to find a way to get younger. You just do. But man. I really just don't believe that the Niners should involve themselves with Alec Pierce, knowing the market and there being 20 plus teams involved trying to get him.
We got a super chat here from Matt Adsworth, 6427. He writes, love you, but Jones is way better than Sterling wants to admit. Hashtag completion percentage or completion percentage, Rams 84.6. Come on, bro. Yeah. With no receivers, too, not even JJ.
Yeah, Matt, I don't think you're wrong to say that Mac Jones put on a masterclass on Thursday Night Football against that Rams defense, which I would say their secondary's not good. Better now with McDuffie, but I'm not discrediting what he's done. It's more what the market is dictating for us. The archetype in which Mac Jones is, he's not Kyler Murray. He's not dynamic. He can't run. He's not Malik Willis. He's not dynamic. He can't run. Mac Jones fits more into the game manager, quick release, quick processing type of quarterback. And in 2026, those quarterbacks don't go for a lot of money. Those quarterbacks are not highly valued. There's a reason why Kirk Cousins, even in Minnesota, nobody else was really high on him and how far they can go. I also wouldn't base how good a quarterback is on completion percentage. That's checkdowns. It's underneath. He's rarely pushing the ball downfield.
And that's what Strawberry says right here.
Exactly. So, I get what you're saying, Matt. We watched Mac Jones save San Francisco's season.
He did.
You can't you can't sell that short of what it was. And maybe he's more valuable to San Francisco than he is to other teams out there. And that is, I think, the sticking point where San Francisco realized Brock Purdy has some injury history. He's gone down before. If we need a quarterback behind him, Mac Jones has shown he is more than capable enough of winning big games against good opponents in prime time. I'm saying that another team out there in a different scheme or a similar scheme that has draft picks is saying, why would I risk trading my draft picks for a player like Mac Jones for 1 year? He's a rental option unless they want to re-sign him, which maybe they do, maybe they don't, but you're asking another team to take that risk. And I don't think they want to at this point in time, knowing who's out there.
The league presents market failure situations all the time. So what? Appeal to authority means nothing.
I mean, sure, a lot of moves fail. I'm not appealing to anybody. I'm appealing to the the Jets and the Cardinals and the Raiders and the Dolphins and the Vikings being like, Mac Jones isn't somebody we invest in. It took Sam Darnold 6 years to finally pop, and the Vikings don't have the cap space. They don't have the draft picks to just give away for 1 year of Mac Jones. The Cardinals aren't doing that. The Niners aren't trading Mac Jones in the division. The Raiders wouldn't want Mac Jones with the first overall pick. The Dolphins have to take a $77 million dead cap hit to cut Tua Tagovailoa.
They just need to cut their ties with that guy. And they have
the
to
suitors dwindle and dwindle and dwindle to really one team making sense, unless the Pittsburgh Steelers are like, Aaron Rodgers is gone. But even then, they can just draft Ty Simpson. There's a lot to weigh in this, and I just think the asking price of a first-round draft pick or even a second, albeit a smart starting point for San Francisco. Yeah. We've all seen Pawn Stars. You want to start high and go down lower to get a good deal. I just don't think teams see a third-round draft pick or a fourth-round draft pick being a good deal for a player like Mac Jones.
I think as the draft gets closer and teams start to feel the pressure and get a little desperate, that's when you might see them make that move. Like, you know what? Yeah. Just give him a third-round pick. Let's get him in here. We need some assurance at the quarterback position.
If you're a Niner fan, which Matt, I'm assuming you are, the one thing you're hoping for is that the Vikings don't get Kyler Murray, the Raiders don't want to trade Geno Smith, and free agency's over, and here comes draft day. And they're sitting there with McCarthy and Max Brosmer, and they're like, we can't do this. We're desperate. A third-round draft pick like Dre said for Mac Jones will do it. That, to me, is a very smart thing for San Francisco to do. His market value is high, but I don't think it's as high as we think it is as a fan base, nor I think it's as high as what John Lynch says it is. It's not first-round draft pick worthy. It's just not. It's not.
I think what you're citing is as the consensus on Jones is just wrong. That's all of the show.
Yeah, maybe. I don't mind being wrong.
I agree with Callie Young. Mac is replaceable. Strike while the iron's hot. Yeah,
I agree.
Absolutely.
I agree.
But if you wait until draft time to make that move, you give the Niners less time to counter and say, okay, well, how about, you're on the clock. Here's the offer. They may take it. Who knows? But, I mean, again, and here's one more. I don't know why on earth I'm going to bring this up, but why not? Because it's the Eagles. Adam Schefter writes, I don't believe there's a chance in hell the Eagles would move A.J. Brown unless it included a first-round draft pick. Would you trade a first-round pick for A.J. Brown?
No.
No, I wouldn't either.
No. There's drama there. I would rather have Denzel Boston for 5 seasons on a relatively cheap contract than A.J. Brown. Omar Cooper, too. I like A.J. Brown a lot. I think he's a darn good football player. But we also saw him in the playoffs last year give up, have rare drops. And that could be maybe because of what was happening on the sidelines, behind the scenes, the offense. And I think Brock Purdy would excel with a receiver like A.J. Brown.
Yeah.
But we are making so much about Kyle Shanahan and Bernardo Green on the sidelines and all that stuff. But you're going to see that every single week if Brown doesn't get the football. I don't want that happening. You need connectivity. You need a player all in.
And Bashar, he says it too. Thank you, Sterling. I've been telling people about Denzel Boston. Denzel Boston looks really, really good.
Which I'm hoping with the Bills getting DJ Moore, that means Boston slides to 27. That'll be great.
There you go, right there.
Which also
that might
means
open things up.
They wouldn't have to sign Mike Evans, which I don't want to do.
Yeah, I don't want them to either. Okay, let's get that straight too. I'm not saying go out and get Mike Evans. I want him, and I'm just saying I could see San Francisco falling to that, being like, you know what, because they saw what Devontae Adams did for the Rams. He was a big target, huge red zone threat, and he got a lot of touchdowns until he pulled his hamstring, and then he was kind of limited. So I feel like the Niners are going to look at that and say, how do we replicate that? How do we give him more easier targets against these defenses that are really, really good? Let's get him a big receiver in Mike Evans.
Sure.
Now, am I campaigning for it? No, but I've been saying I can see that.
You are on the picket line at the very front saying, sign Mike Evans.
Sign him! I'll drive him over to you guys right now. But no, when it comes to A.J. Brown, I wouldn't make that move. I just think there's too much involved with that, too much drama with that.
I also wouldn't want to give Howie Roseman a first-round draft pick.
No, exactly. He's just going to use that against you. And then not only that, but we saw what he did in the playoffs. The first drop, I didn't really get on him too hard about that. That was a hard catch. He had to reach all the way down. But the second one, in the fourth quarter, you got to make that catch, buddy. It was in your hands. Even Jalen Hurts was like, oh, my God. You can see the look on his face. He was like, bro, I put that right in your hands, dude. What more do you want? Let me come over and hand it to you? Like, come on. So a lot to go on, the offseason for San Francisco. And to me, look, I still think that they're going to sign a defensive piece. I think they're not going to be able to help themselves. It may be one of the guys from the Vikings. And not only that, but there's a lot of offensive linemen that are being released right now, a plethora of them. Mekhi Becton got released, and he had a horrible season last season. So I don't know if that's the answer, but you can probably get him for cheap. So because he's coming off a bad year, and you need a left guard. He plays guard, so maybe that's where you slot him in. He helped the Eagles win a Super Bowl. You got two of those guys from the Browns. You have, what was it, Gazlo?
Batonio, and you have Wyatt Teller from the Browns.
Right. And then you got the guy from the Lions. I think their center, Gazlo, I think his name was. He's another guy that got cut. But, the Niners, they're in love with Jake Brendel. They're like, Jake Brendel, we can't part with this guy. Even though they really should, they love him for whatever reason, and they feel like he's an adequate offensive lineman. It's funny. We got breaking news. Oh, wow. The 49ers have just hired Matt Eberflus, and he will be the assistant head coach of defense.
Wow.
So Eberflus, they're adding another defensive coach to help Raheem Morris. Is this a good thing or a bad thing? Is this a lack of confidence in Raheem Morris?
No. This is, I think, them replacing Doug Bradley and having another defensive coordinator in the room. I'm someone last year when San Francisco wanted to find a new defensive coordinator and replace Nick Sorensen. He wasn't the top of my list, but there is some continuity. I think Eberflus was the Colts defensive coordinator before Bradley was, and then he joined the Bears and wasn't fit. I think, was he Dallas's defensive coordinator last year and got fired? He was
Dallas, and I think he got fired.
And it wasn't very good. I just think he's somebody that behind the scenes could make some sense, but at the forefront, I don't hate the move. The more steady defensive minds that know how to head coach and be defensive coordinator in the room isn't bad. And he brings some fun things to the table. He's somebody that I think slots in. Football mind, been around for a long time, seen it all, done it all, failed at it all, unfortunately, but I don't hate it. He's an assistant. They don't do much. It's not like he's doing much at all.
Yeah, and they even said here, Tom Pelissero confirms fills a key role vacated when Gus Bradley left for Tennessee. So he's definitely filling the Gus Bradley role. He's there to back up, probably be their red zone defensive guru. And he'll have, specific tasks and titles that he'll be overseeing, which makes their head coaching team that much better. So at the end of the day, I think this is a good hire. Bringing in a guy who's experienced, who's known for his defensive knowledge, and now he's going to be right there alongside Kyle Shanahan and Raheem Morris. So Matt Eberflus is now the assistant head coach of the defense, per Tom Pelissero. Similar to what we had with Gus Bradley last year. And I want to say Gus Bradley was the red zone defensive coach. He came up with all the schemes to stop in the red zone. So they did pretty well. Strawberry writes, when the Bears won games in 2024 is because of their defense. Their offense was just horrible. This is also a guy, too, that some fans were saying, hey, they could hire him as their defensive coordinator back before they hired Robert Saleh. So
yes.
Matt Eberflus, now a part of the 49ers coaching staff. What'd you find, Sterling? You're looking at something right now.
I'm going through my notes. I hope I'm not frozen on the screen right now. I know my Wi-Fi has been pretty crappy the last couple of weeks.
It's okay if you are. You got a very stoic face, full of energy.
So here's what I found. When you look at Eberflus's track record, he's one of the better run defending coaches the last couple of years. If you go back to 2018 with the Colts, he was 9th in football. 2019 with the Colts, he was 5th in football. 2020 with the Colts, he was 2nd in football. In 2021, he was 11th in football. Then he cratered in 2022 with the Bears. But in 2023, he went from 31st to 1st in run defense. So I really think he's somebody that he does fit the mold of trying to figure out run fits, which the Falcons had problems with Raheem Morris as their DC. So I think it's a good hire. I think it helps a lot. He runs a 4-2 scheme. He's not really a cover 3 guy. He runs cover 2. He runs zone. He runs man. He's a pretty simplistic play caller, but he's not going to have to do that with San Francisco. I think it's a good hire. The more guys in the room, the better. And again, a very excellent run defense track record. And San Francisco was a terrible run defending team after about week 10 when Michael went down. So if he can help in that capacity, good hire by San Francisco.
Absolutely. And you know what? A lot of fans forget Niners still have Keon White. He's still in the mix on that defensive line.
I always forget that.
Everyone forgets that. And he was a key contributor late in the season, especially in the playoffs, getting that sack on Jalen Hurts. So he's going to fit in quite nicely on the interior for different, if they want to do like an all-out pass rushing NASCAR package, he could be a part of that on the inside. Who knows? Depending on who else they acquire in the off season. But Matt Eberflus, now a member of the San Francisco 49ers coaching staff as of just a few minutes ago, confirmed by Adam Schefter. Another last thing I want to mention, Cam Jordan is going to get released after playing 15 years with the Saints. To me, too old. I'm hoping the Niners will look at him and say, hey, we could bring him in on a short deal. He's a veteran. I think he's too old. That's not a guy I would go for. Love me some Cam Jordan, but I think the age, last season he had 10.5 sacks. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah, he's still productive for his age. He feels like somebody that goes and he's somebody that back in like the mid 2000s and the early 2010s, the Steelers would sign and somehow he'd become an all Pro Bowl player. And you're like, huh? What the hell happened? But he's productive. I would not mind a 1-year deal for Cam Jordan, albeit he wouldn't be my first choice.
Yeah, he would not be my first choice. He'd be a choice that if there was nobody left and you're getting ready to start training camp, you're like, all right, offer him 1-year deal. Let's get him in here and let's figure out what we're gonna do. But guys, that's gonna do it for the Dre Area Sports Show. I want to thank Sterling for coming on here and delivering a fire stream, talking some Niners football, free agency, what their offseason plan should be, offense, defense. Trent McDuffie, what does that mean for San Francisco? All that we covered today. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to 49ers Access. He's got a fantastic channel, and he goes live way more than I do. I shouldn't have said that, but definitely subscribe to my channel because, my content is superior. No, it's not. And guys, remember, it's good. It's up there. And remember, guys, we're brought to you by Power Brand Systems. Use promo code 300POWER when making your first purchase over at Power Brand Systems. They will design and develop a website to your every needs. Check out Power Brand Systems. We're also brought to you by SeatGeek. Use promo code Dre Area Sports to save up to $20 on your first purchase over at SeatGeek.com. And we're brought to you by BetUS. BetUS, where the game begins. They will match you up to 110% on your first 3 deposits when you use promo code Dre Area Sports. And, of course, you can always go over to my website, which is DreAreaSports.com, and become a member on there. Or you can follow me over on Patreon under Dre Area Sports. Sterling, thank you so much for coming on here. This was fun. We're going to do it again in about 2 days or tomorrow for Cover 3. So check that out. We'll be Aaron of 49ers First Takes will be hosting that. And we're going to have a special guest, Mike from 49ers Gold Rush will be on there with us. And we'll be doing our Cover 3 podcast. Very good show. Always a lot of fun. And Sterling, you have any words to send us out on?
Stay tuned. Today, tomorrow, this weekend, maybe my top offensive free agent targets for the San Francisco 49ers coming out. So stay tuned for that. And as always, guys, subscribe to Dre Area Sports.
There we go. And then also, too, guys, look, I know there was articles out there or news breaks about Aaron Rodgers, about that he hasn't signed yet. But anytime I say anything about Aaron Rodgers, this is what I think in my head.
I'm here to tell you right now, we don't care.
Let me tell you something.
We don't care.
Jerry.
Nobody cares. It's like, go do your ayahuasca, get lost. I don't care. And guys, we will see you next time on another episode of the Dre Area Sports Show. Catch us tomorrow on all of our channels on the Cover 3 podcast. We'll see you guys next time. Peace!
You're listening to the Dre Area Sports Show, live on YouTube and X. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe.
Hey,